Lesson 2-6, solve absolute value equations. So in this lesson, we're going to still review the properties of equality, but then review what absolute value would be. So absolute value equations have two cases that need to be used to find all possible answers. So to do this, we're going to isolate the absolute value expression first, and then we're going to write case 1 and then case 2. Case 1, I would write the expression inside the absolute value and equal it to the positive answer or whatever number they're giving you. Case 2 is going to write the same expression inside the absolute value but make it equal to the negative answer. And then you use the properties of equality to solve. So here's an example. Here we're going to solve the equation with case 1 and case 2. I need to isolate the absolute value, so I'm going to divide by 2 first. And so now I have the absolute value by itself. I'm going to have x plus 9 equals 7. And the other one's going to be x plus 9 equals a negative 7. Now I can solve for x. I can subtract 9 on both sides. And x is going to equal a negative 2. And over here, subtract 9 on both sides. And x is going to equal a negative 16. So I have two possible answers, and if I put them back in there, negative 2 plus 9 is 7. The absolute value of 7 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Negative 16 plus 9 is negative 7. Absolute value of negative 7 is 7. 7 times 2 is still 14. Next, here I want to add 4 to both sides first. And so now I have 3 times the absolute value of y minus 2, and that's going to equal 15. Now I get the absolute value by itself by dividing by 3. And now I have the absolute value of y minus 2 equaling 5. And so when I take it out of the absolute value, I have y minus 2 equaling a positive 5. And I have y minus 2 equals a negative 5. So again, you're only doing the opposites of the number on the outside of the equal sign. Don't change the expression inside the absolute value. So now to get y by itself, I add 2 to both sides, and y is going to equal 7. Here, add 2 to both sides, and I'm left with y equaling a negative 3. Other examples. Here I'm going to subtract 17. And when I do that, I have the absolute value of y equaling 0. Now, anytime you have an absolute value equaling 0, y is just going to equal 0. So there's no case 1 and case 2 because 0 is neither positive nor negative. Next, to get the absolute value by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 1. And now I have the absolute value of 14n plus 2 equals positive 7. Now that's important because if the absolute value is by itself, it can never equal a negative number. So now that I can take this out of the absolute value, I have 14n plus 2 equals 7. And I have 14n plus 2 equals a negative 7. Now I can get 14n by itself by subtracting 2 on both sides. I have 14n equaling 5. Divide by 14. N is going to equal 5/14. And then on this side, I am subtracting 2 on both sides, and I have 14n equaling a negative 9. Divided by 14. N is also going to equal a negative 9/14. More problems we have. Here I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. And we have the absolute value of m plus 2 equaling 0. Because it's equal to 0, I only have one case, so it's going to be m plus 2 equaling 0. Subtract 2 on both sides. M can only equal a negative 2. Next, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Now I have 8 times the absolute value of p minus 5 is equal to 24. Divided by 8. I now have the absolute value of p minus 5 is equal to 3. Now when I take it out, I have p minus 5 equals a positive 3, and I have p minus 5 equals a negative 3. So always remember your two cases. To get p by itself, I'm just going to add 5 to both sides, and I have p equaling 8. Over here, add 5 to both sides, and p is going to equal 2. Next, these are all word problems, but still dealing with absolute value. It says the late night news reported that today's temperature varied 18 degrees from the mid-morning reading of 42 degrees. What were the day's possible maximum and minimum temperatures? So it varied 18 degrees. That means it could be 18 degrees above or 18 degrees below. So my absolute value is going to be, I'm going to use T for the temperature minus 42. So the difference has to be within 18 degrees, whether it's 18 degrees above or 18 degrees below. So when I take it out of the absolute value, I now have T minus 42 equals a positive 18, and T minus 42 equals a negative 18. Now I just add 42 to both sides, and the maximum temperature would be 60 degrees, and over here I add 42 to both sides, and the minimum temperature would be 42 minus 18. That would give us 26 degrees. Next, a poll reported the approval rating of the CEO of a corporation to be 62%. If the poll is accurate within 2.8%, what are the maximum and minimum approval ratings for the CEO? And when it comes to absolute value word problems, whenever you see that it's within a certain percent or a certain number, that means you're plus and a minus. So we're going to have the absolute value, your maximum or your minimum, minus the average. So the average is 62. And that's got to be within 2.8%. So now if I take this out, case 1 is going to be m minus 62 equals a positive 2.8, and case 2 is going to be m minus 62 equals a negative 2.8. From here, I'm just going to add 62 to both sides, and we're left with the maximum is going to be 64.8%. Add 62 to both sides on this side, and the minimum is going to be 60.8, not 60.8, 62 minus 2.8 would give you 59.2. And that would be percent.